Hello, and welcome to Does It Resonate With You, the thought-provoking conversation show where your hosts, Angie of the ZXUH Method and John the Tarot Geek, figure out what resonates with them while encouraging you to find what resonates with you. Let's get started. Hello and welcome. But here we are back again, episode 19. It's hard to believe that we've, time has gone by so fast. I'm really excited for today's show. And by the way, if you're listening and you listen all the way to the end, you'll be able to get another edition of Tarot Time. So you'll be able to add to your tarot knowledge as well. But also, if I could just, ask, if you could reach down and subscribe or pop over to YouTube and subscribe to the Does It Resonate With You channel, that'd be fantastic. Okay, now that business out of the way. One of my favorite subjects, crystals. Yeah. Like, I'm all over crystals. Oh, there was one little thing I should have brought down here, but that's right, because people won't mind if I get up and grab it
I'll cover for you.
Yeah, it's literally like if my arm was just, 4 feet longer, I could reach it myself.
I'm trying to imagine what that would look like.
Right? Stretch Armstrong.
That's
anyway.
From a few decades ago.
Well, I've got boys that are in their 30s and 40s, so
perfect. Yep.
Yeah, you haven't lived until you've seen what was on the inside of that stretch thing. Anyway,
you digress.
Okay, so really interesting because I'm kind of all over crystals, and we had a few minutes to talk before the show, and kind of for you, crystals was the hardest thing to get into.
Yes.
I have memories of going to a rock shop when I was like 8 or 10. So I don't know, my mother passed when I was 16. So it's a long time ago. So I don't really know how into rocks and crystals she might have been, but she did. I have a memory of going, and at the time I loved amethyst so much because it was purple.
Yeah.
Right. Like purple's been around for me forever. So, but yeah, I've had a little bit of an affinity for rocks for a very long time, up to and including, turning them into little friends. So anyway,
hey, should I put some googly eyes on my quartz?
Why not? Everything could benefit from a pair of googly eyes, I think, but that's just me now.
I'll test it out.
Yeah, there you go. So I was actually thrilled when you suggested this topic for today's episode. I'm interested to hear a little bit about where, kind of where you are in the crystal and rock world. I'll tell you a little bit about, how I interact with them, and then we'll play a little bit, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess here's one reason why the whole idea of crystals was the hardest thing for me to go like, yeah, maybe there's something to that. When I was in college, I had a good friend then, and we were a little bit snarky, kind of sarcastic. And there was a girl in our group of friends who was really into woo-woo, and she was really into crystals. And so my friend would relentlessly tease her about her crystals. And so during my journey, when I finally, I had no problem accepting and participating, learning Reiki. That's energy coming through the hands for healing, right? That was like, oh, of course it works that way. And using, understanding how intuition and spirit works with divination, such as pendulums and tarot. I had no problems with that at all. When I got to crystals, I'm like, not quite. It took a little longer to get on board. So that's why it was hard. I will say, though, one time I did have a Reiki session where the practitioner used crystals, and that was by far one of the most powerful Reiki sessions I've ever had.
Well, no doubt. Sure.
Right? So
no doubt. Interesting. I always find it interesting somebody can get behind a pendulum and not get it with crystals, because
you said one has a string, the other doesn't, right?
Really, pretty much that's it. Pendulum is a rock on a chain and crystal isn't. right? But generally, pendulums are made of some kind of crystal,
Yeah, that's true.
quartz or I mean, actually, yeah, I had a pyrite one that got. I think my pendulums get lost all the time because I don't really use them very much.
Hmm.
I explained that on another show.
Yep.
Left-handed, left-handed. I can't use it right. You can't do it. Like it's pain in the neck. Um, but I did one of my favorite ones was made of pyrite. The metal.
Yeah.
So which is still considered a crystal. You can really go deep into the science of crystals and the
Mm.
structure of crystals. Different, like the more gemmy crystals, and then there's the more rocky, the ones that look more like stones,
Yep.
that
Yep.
but they still carry energy. So that's really what it's all about, right? Is energy.
Yeah.
They have their own energetic frequency or signature. Um, I haven't really decided. Some people say that the bigger it is, like this is a
That's
good.
massive.
This is actually a really nice piece of iolite. One of the few museum quality
Hmm.
specimens I have.
Cool.
Um, Expensive. This was expensive.
I bet.
But and I just it used to live at my space where I would have group events, and I always had to like pay attention. Not that anybody would walk out with it on purpose, but everybody was like, "Oh, I want to hold the iolite. I want to hold the iolite," all the time. So I just needed to make sure I knew where it was. Um, so there is a lot to learn. I actually went through the hibiscus moon crystal healing certification class, so I'm
Really?
technically speaking
Oh, that's
a
cool.
hibiscus moon um certified crystal practitioner, I think she calls it now.
Wow.
She's actually stopped doing that program. I don't know what she's going to release something new, but the thing that drew me to her in particular was that she was a science teacher.
That
you know
resonates with me.
Right. She was a science teacher. And then, when she moved into the crystal world, she did it because she found them and she loved them. She's got some hella pieces of, like some amazing stuff that you get to see in her videos. But um when you start learning the structure, like the sort of what the different crystals do, it is probably more complicated than the framework of tarot, right? Because
Yes. There's a
you
lot
know,
to learn.
there is. And you know what? I know a lot. I recognize a lot, but I don't use it so much when I work with them. I work with them in the way that I am guided to work with them, right?
Okay.
So I feel like crystals is one of those things. Crystals are one. Working
Yeah,
with
yeah.
crystals is one of those things
There you go.
that do it in the way that works for you. Like if you want to follow a book, and I do have a recommendation of a book. This is the best.
The Book of Stones.
The Book of
Awesome.
Stones by um you can't, it's down here. I don't know which direction I'm going.
That's good.
Robert Simmons and Naisha Ashan.
Okay.
Asan.
That's really
And
helpful.
the one I've got is like an expanded edition. I don't know if even it's the latest. I've had it for quite a long time. But this by far is one of the best crystal books I think out there. There's another one called the Crystal Bible. I don't own it, but it's also a good one. I
Okay.
don't remember the author. But what I will say is, what happened here? My screen timed out, which I never happens before during the show. Anyway, what I'll say here is that you can see these different pictures, right?
Yep.
Very often, the crystals you see in a shop, in a dish, tumbles on a shelf, they don't look like this. Why? These are museum quality pieces. The crystals of whatever they are, I think this is probably moldavite in the middle. They don't always look like this.
Okay.
So like, for example, iolite, right? But
Hmm.
if you pick up an iolite out of a tumble out of a crystal dish in the store, it's going to be like a solid blue, like
Okay.
opaque, not
Interesting.
translucent like this.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
does it make it's still the same makeup, it's still the same chemical makeup, it just is a different, I guess, quality, or a different, from a different mine. It could be
Sure.
from a
Yeah.
different
Different
mine. It could
variety.
could be, all kinds of things. So for my part, I think you pick a crystal based on, oh, do you like how it looks? Pick it up. Do you like how it feels? Sit with it. And then there's always the ever popular, does it call you back to the store to come and get it? Because I've had that happen more than once.
That's funny.
Um, it is kind of funny. So, there's some people who are really rigid. That's not me,
Hmm.
in the way that they work with crystals. And, this one is good for this and this one is good for that. And that's how you do it. And you make your crystal grids a certain way. And if you're going to use quartz points in your crystal grid, you have to put them in a certain direction. There are people who will go so far as to say you're directing the energy in the wrong direction if you put the points in the wrong direction or the grid in the wrong place. I don't buy that.
Right. The rules for people.
Right, right. And I think for someone like you who kind of is wondering, the rules kind of make it like hard to believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It
Like,
feels more like superstition in some cases.
yes. And, like I've had people, oh, I dropped my crystal and it broke. Well, good. Now you have two. That's not what, that's not what they think.
Right. The evil is
Um,
spilling all over the floor.
yes, like the things they think. What did I do wrong? My crystal is broke. You dropped it.
Right. It's just
Oh,
simple.
it's a rock. It might have had a fissure in the middle, and when it hit, you hit it in the right way, and it broke open. You know, I had there's a crystal called vanadinite, and it's made up of little tiny cubes. Like you get a chunk, but within that chunk, it's all little tiny cubes. And
Oh, I've
when
seen it. Yes.
yeah, and in fact, I have that. I'll grab it too. Um, when I bought it and I brought it home. It wasn't wrapped up quite right. So as I took my stuff out of the bag, the vanadinite fell and hit the floor. And instead of one, I had like 9 because it broke into little pieces. But I was okay with it. But a
Right.
lot of other people would have been like, "Oh my God, my luck!" Like the
Yep.
whole breaking a mirror for 7
Right.
years bad luck thing. Although I'm not so sure about that one. That might really be true. I don't know.
Stephen Wright, the comedian. My favorite
I
joke by him is broke a mirror, supposed to get 7 years bad luck, but my lawyer thinks he can get me 5.
Perfect, right? 1 second, just 1
Sure.
second.
Yep.
Okay. So this is a different piece of
Oh, wow.
vanadinite.
Okay.
Okay, now I get it. I'm
Yep.
lining it up with the camera would be a good way to go.
Nice.
So this is a different piece. I do keep it in this little box because it's a little tiny piece and it
Right.
will definitely fall apart. But and it's probably really hard to see, but it is all little tiny cubes, like all little tiny cubes. So there's that. Now, this is the kind of thing I personally do where this is a fairy tower. So
Oh.
this is a clear quartz sphere and a cube, and then a Canadian fairy stone, and they're glued together.
Oh, wow.
I was guided to do this.
Mhm.
I didn't find this in a book. So if you can get your idea that you have to do it a certain way out of the way and just let them speak, however they speak. You get a spark, you get an idea, they
Yep.
actually speak, whatever.
Intuition.
I think it's really, the sky is the limit.
Mhm.
So, and then there's that. Do you have any thoughts or questions like before
Yeah,
I've got a
actually,
lot of things I can really talk about.
yeah.
So,
So let's say we're looking at a beginner wanting to buy his or her first 3 crystals. What would you recommend for the first 3?
if I was going to go for tumbles, which are generally inexpensive,
Yep.
I would go for 7,
Oh,
and
okay.
I would go for the chakra set.
Cool.
And the truth is, you can do that by color.
Okay.
So if you know the colors of the chakra, which are
Yep.
chakras, Roy
Yep.
G.
Roy G.
Biv,
Biv.
right?
Yep.
You can actually, if you pick crystals that are of those colors, that's how they actually match up.
Okay. That's
So
helpful. That means if I
yeah,
go into a crystal shop and want to, get my first set, I can just pick out one of each of
yes,
those 7 colors and have a good basis to start with.
yes, and I'll be honest with you, you're better off picking out your own set
Okay.
because the crystal shop they have a tendency to pick out 7 and put them in a package and double the price.
Right. Of
So
course.
just go in and pick out, find a red one you like. Find it like, okay, so for example, red. Calcite is always a great option if you got a store that's got a lot of calcite because there's red calcite, there's orange calcite, there's yellow calcite, there's green calcite, there's blue calcite.
Hmm.
So already that's 5, like you don't even have to
Yep.
think about.
Okay.
So, or so there's calcite. So red or black. And this is something else I discovered this morning. I was giving it some thought. The darker colors, the more earthy colors, red, orange, brown,
Yep.
black, tend to be more earth oriented.
Okay.
So if you think of
Grounding.
the chakras, right, if you think of the chakras more earth oriented, the root chakra,
Mm-hmm.
the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, all are more earth oriented
Right.
chakras, right?
Right.
And then you have the heart, which is the anchor of everything. So the
Yep.
heart, which is green,
Green.
right?
Mhm.
In the Roy G. Biv, it's
Yep.
green or pink, love color, right?
Mm.
For the heart. And then if you go from the throat up, now you're looking at etheric chakras, and
Okay.
that tends to be the lighter colors,
Yep.
right? Like the blue and the indigo, the violet. So the more clear, like more colorful colors, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
You know, or the cool colors. I guess if you're somebody that separates them in that way.
Yes. Right.
Red, orange, yellow, right, are the
Is the
warm
warm. Yep.
colors. And then the blue, indigo, violet are the cool colors.
Mm-hmm.
So the cool colors are more etheric and the warm colors are more earth. So if you have all 7 and you work with all 7, now you're doing what I feel is really important for anybody in this journey, and that is anchoring the earth energy to the divine, right? You
Okay.
want to anchor your physical self to your etheric self. So if you're working with them, and a real easy way to do, because you have an idea where the crystals, where the chakras are,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
As it goes up, you just lay you just lay them, you just lay them that
On
way.
those spots. Yeah. Huh.
And if you don't get it right all the way, or you find, oh well, it doesn't really sit here for the brow, but it sits here better, do that,
Yep.
right? Because intention, the power of intention. So for beginning, that's what I would do
Okay. That's
is
helpful.
pick the 7 colors. You can never go wrong with black tourmaline, which is black tourmaline transmutes energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's very grounding.
All right. I recall reading, actually my chiropractor used to wear a necklace with some stone on it that he said it was good for protecting from electromagnetic noise.
Oh, probably shungite.
Okay.
I would bet probably shungite. Shungite is what out there really protective stone. Here's my thing. Why does that keep happening? You
You're
went the screen went black again. I'm
so
gonna not react to it next time, and I'm just gonna undo it, and I won't take any time on it.
that was happening to me last week, like
Oh, okay.
constantly. Maybe it's a Windows update.
Oh, could be, could be. Anyway, the electromagnetic thing, I'm not so sure. I'm not really so sure that there is anything. If there is an effect that you get from the electromagnetic energy, I'm not so sure that a crystal protects you
Going to
from it.
protect.
I
Okay.
right?
So that's bordering on perhaps superstition, perhaps not. Jury's still out.
Eh, Yeah, I would think. I'd be interested to hear like what Hibiscus Moon thought about that.
Okay.
Or,
Like the
somebody who's
authorities.
more
Yep.
into the scientific world. I play in the metaphysical world with the crystals. To me, that's a more physical application.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
So, it's like the people who wear
The bracelet,
copper
right?
bracelets and stuff. So in the crystal grid world, copper is very amplifying. You can
Okay.
amplify the energy of a crystal with a piece of copper.
Huh.
So like I build crystal grids on copper sheets. Like I have, copper that I cut into squares and
Sweet.
I build grids on the sheets. For me, the energy of that is more powerful.
Hmm.
So, but then there was something about magnets, people wearing, like iron magnets, and
Yeah.
that it would
Yep.
draw, heavy metals. I don't know about all that. I
Right.
really like
I remember seeing ads for those things.
you will find me to be the most open-minded skeptic there probably is on the planet, because there are things that skeptics don't believe in that I 100% do because they work for me, right?
Yeah.
But then there's other things that I just don't
Right.
buy.
Right.
You know what it is? The things that are trying to separate you from your money. I don't buy that so easily, right? Like,
Yep. No, good. That's a really good point. Well, I remember seeing years ago there was an ad for a magnetic water stir. You would put the magnet in your water and stir your water with it, and it was supposedly something really good for your water. And I recall it was something like $50 for this magnetic stir.
oh my gosh.
And I kind of went, I think I'll drink my filtered water, and I'll be just fine.
So okay, so it's interesting that you mentioned water, because water, if you have studied at all Dr. Emoto, do you know who that
Yeah,
is?
I do know that. Yep.
So you can you can have an influence. You can influence water. You definitely can influence water. So I actually, and I do love it, am known to take a mason jar, drop a chunk of rose quartz in it. Rose quartz is safe to put in water. Not everything is safe to put in water and drink.
Hmm.
Okay. So you should never do it unless you know what you're doing, ever. You
Good.
really need, because there's crystals that have arsenic in it.
Right. Right.
And,
There's plenty of metals, heavy metals that you don't want to have.
right.
Yep.
So, but I have been known to take a chunk of rose quartz, put it in a mason jar, fill it up with filtered water, and set it out in the moon, and then drink it the next day.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, I get a little buzz from it. I do enjoy it. So,
Wow. I have a great
there's,
idea for a business.
yeah, right. Like, it's so good. So there's that. There's the idea that you can take a jar of water and surround it with crystals in a bowl, so that the gem elixirs and gem water and gem elixirs is a big deal. A lot of people make them, a lot of people use them, a lot of people swear by them, because the water picks up the energy of the crystal.
Okay.
Then you consume that water, thereby affecting your physical body with the energy of that crystal. It does make sense to me. And I do know that I've gotten very loopy when I drink the rose quartz moon water. Not loopy like drunk, but loopy like I feel really good,
Yeah,
and,
like
and
bubbly.
really bubbly. And right, exactly.
Okay.
So there's that. Now there's another thing, and this is not exactly crystals, but this is something that I was given.
Ooh.
I never know what way to go because it seems so
No,
strange,
yep.
right?
No, I can see it very clearly. That's
So
good.
this is actually my design, you see.
Ooh.
This is a chakra balancing symbol, and it's a coaster. Set that. That's what I do with that.
Nice.
And I've had people test it. So you can influence water with symbols, with words, with crystals.
It's the intent.
It's the energy of the crystal,
Okay.
though. right? The
Yep.
dominant oscillatory resonance is what it's called. There's a lot of people who take like clear quartz and tape it to their water softeners,
Hmm.
or to their water filters.
Yep.
I never put crystals in my pool because I don't want to. I have a above ground pool, so I don't want rocks to go through the liner, right? Like, so I've never actually done that. But I do fill the water with energy. I send energy, and I send the energy of whatever energy it takes to keep anything that might fall in my pool and not be able to get out.
Hmm.
And it works. The first couple of years there was always something, and since I started doing that, it hasn't happened. Although I probably don't want to jinx it, right?
Right.
But
Right.
anyway, so there's so many options and directions and places you can go. I don't have it here, but at my space I have a big, huge, like, it's a triangle shaped piece of pink selenite. It's not cut into a triangle. It just happens to be that
Oh,
shape.
cool.
But it's big. It's huge. Like, I can't even put my hands. You can't see my hands if they're far enough apart. The thing probably weighs, I don't know, 12 pounds or something. It kind of looks like a rocket ship a little bit. Or
Sweet.
maybe a Ouija board planchette, one of the two. And then I have a this is a desert rose selenite.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
these are really cool. Like,
Yeah.
these are really cool. But I actually have a cluster. So it's a cluster, probably, I don't know, has probably 20 or 30 of
Oh,
these,
wow.
all clustered together. It's good size. So I
Nice.
took that pink selenite, I took that the desert rose selenite, set it on top, and then a little piece of apophyllite that I have. Apophyllite is another one that can send you, like, apophyllite. If you're looking for something to meditate with, something to start out with,
Yeah.
get yourself a piece of apophyllite.
Okay.
I'll try to remember to put that in the comments too, as well.
Yeah. Some of these are hard to spell, so I want to put those in for our
Yeah, because apophyllite is definitely hard to spell. Actually, I'll put it in a banner real quick.
Okay.
While
you're
I'm
doing that, let me tell you my
okay, wait, though, I wasn't finished, but
sorry.
now it's gone.
Darn it all. Oh, you're building that tower.
Oh yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. Right. So here is the thing. Okay. Here's apophyllite. I
Thank
built this tower. I was in a class. I was teaching a class. There was 3 of us in the class. Me, the teacher, 2 students, energy work class. I put this thing together in the middle of the floor for a meditation. And about 15 minutes later, we found ourselves all just staring at the wall. And I was like, all right, I better take this apart, because the energy coming from this was so powerful that we were like all just kind of checked out and wandering around in la la land. So
Sweet.
I mean, honestly, in my neighborhood, my neck of the woods, I'm pretty famous for my crystal meditations.
Okay.
The way that I grid the room,
Right.
and the way that I emanate energy, everybody's like, oh, I would like to do that again.
Yeah.
So just, so there is something to it, right? But I don't follow a book. I don't do a
Right. First this,
hibiscus
then
moon
this, then
crystal
this.
session.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I loved learning from her, but the sort of marketing of the crystal session itself, not so much. Not that I didn't love it. It's great for a lot of people, but that's just not how I work.
Right.
So if nothing else from this conversation, if I give one person permission to say, oh, well, I've never really worked with crystals in the way they say, I've done this, I want you to know that's okay. It's good. Like, do
I'll
it.
be that
Just
one person.
play. Have fun. Just play. Like,
okay.
Although
I saw, so there's a group that I follow. I get their emails every so often. there's a group that does like worldwide meditations, and they on certain, like maybe it's roughly monthly, I get an email and they say, okay, we're doing another worldwide meditation, and everybody agrees to meditate at a particular time, and it's like it's all synchronized. So for you guys, it's 7 a.m. For this people, this time zone over here, it's 9 p.m.
Yep.
But one of the things they offer is there's a circular shape that has little tiny quartz crystals all around it, and it's like a little metal grid, a metal round thing with maybe, I don't know, 12 or 16 little crystal grids, little pieces of quartz all around it. Does that sound familiar?
No.
Okay. So apparently maybe that's what this group does, but
do they sell it?
You can buy it, but they also say, here's how to make your own. Get this piece of metal, get these little quartz crystals, and here's the positions you put them in. Here's the symbol you put on the top.
They give you a yantra too, a symbol to put on there.
Yes.
Okay.
And then they all use that for their meditation.
That makes sense to me.
Yep.
That makes sense to me because I'll tell this real fast and then we'll do our shameless plug.
All right.
This is something else that I've done. So over the years, I've run across people who can hold it. I can feel the energy from a crystal more than I did when I first started playing with crystals. I can feel it, right, when I hold it. But I know people that can really feel it. Like for me, it's more of a clear cognizant, like I know,
the knowing. Yep.
But they can feel it. So it's more kinesthetic, right?
Yeah.
So I always love to experiment with these people. So I would give them a crystal. Then I would take the crystal and I would hold the crystal and I would get a symbol that went with the crystal. Just for that particular crystal, just whatever the symbol I was shown. And then I would hand them the crystal. They would hold the crystal. Okay. Then I would take it back and I would put the sticky note with the symbol in their hand and put the crystal on top. Every single time it felt different. The crystal was amplified or it was smoothed out or
interesting.
So we haven't even scratched the surface of the way to work with crystals. We're doing a great job.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at these kids. Although he's not a kid anymore. There's a kid. Well, I guess to me he's a kid. Adam, the crystal grid maker. Been making crystal grids since he was like 6.
Huh.
He's got a Facebook page and everything. You should check him out.
I will.
Adam, the crystal grid maker. Yeah. Sweet. So, and he kind of really speaks to crystals as well. So, could somebody give you a bunch of really good information and you could act on that and be happy with that for the rest of your life? Yes. Could you buy this book and, follow along and, like absolutely. And work with crystals this way forever? Yep, absolutely. But if you have an opportunity to be a little more open-minded and play, you never know what you can figure out.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, for me, I don't go to the shop so much anymore because my wallet can't take it. But because that pink selenite called me from underneath a shelf. I couldn't even see it. I was like,
who's
what's
talking
that? And it was, the shop wasn't even open. I was there for an event. And I was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, what's that? And I got it out. And the funny thing was, because I was like, well, I need this. So put this, if you don't want to sell it to me now because you're closed.
Right.
Put it away and I'll come back tomorrow. And it turned out that crystal had been purchased and returned.
Wow.
Which they don't usually take them back.
Right.
But they did. And I think a week later, then it was returned because it was meant to live with me, right? Like it's mine. So
Sweet.
you just be open, right?
Mhm.
And just see what happens. Okay, now time for shameless plug. A little bit late, but
We'll go with it.
we'll go with it. I will hide that. Shameless plug. So, what are you going to plug this week?
Well, I'm going to plug my book. It's called The Woo Woo Book. And the website to take a look is woowoobook.com. So WOOWOOBOOK.com. I am just weeks away from it going to the publisher, which means I will have it.
Outstanding.
I will have it in hand, hopefully end of June. So coming real soon. So please go to the website and sign up to be on the list. I would love to have. What I need to do is I need to have a bunch of reviews of the book all land at the same time on release day, and that's going to help boost its visibility on Amazon, which is hopefully going to propel it to bestseller. And everyone knows you always want to have a bestseller on Amazon, right?
Yeah, right. There you go.
So if you're
Awesome.
interested in that, please sign up and from the woobook.com website, send me a message. And if you are interested in participating in that, I would love to have you.
Excellent. All right. So reach out. So that means that we get an advance copy, right, before
Correct.
release date.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. For me, it's really for now. It's this.
Awesome.
I haven't. I'm still in the process of putting things together for what they're going to look like come June. But if you are listening, speaking of June, episode 24, we are going to be doing a roundtable, and we're going to be talking with other spiritual practitioners of all other kinds. One of the things we want to talk about is what do you do and how do you tell people what that is? So if you are a practitioner and you are interested in participating in this roundtable, please send John or I a message, or you can send us an email at letschat@doesitresonatewithyou.com. And then also, please pop down there and subscribe, or pop over to YouTube if you're listening to us on a podcast. Pop over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. We did get our goal. Our goal was 50, and we're at 51. So now the next goal is 100. So let's see if we can get to 100 pretty quick here. They tell me that once you get to 100, then it's easier to get to 1,000. Once you get over 100, so
yep, it kind of takes on a momentum.
And and if you're of a mind to and you enjoy the show, we'd love it if you shared it. Right? Share it on Facebook. Share it on Insta. I don't know if you can share it on Insta, but you can share it in Messenger. Whatever. We'd love to share what We'd love to share our chats with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're interested in being a guest, reach out and let us know that too, because it's fun when we have
guests. Are always looking for interesting practitioners to talk to, especially if they've got something unique and unusual about what they do.
Yeah. And there's so much unique and unusual out there that,
this is a pretty unique and unusual crowd. Just saying.
It sure is. So anyway, okay. So awesome.
Let me tell my my crystal story, my crystal radio story.
Oh yeah.
So this is interesting. As a kid, this is pre metaphysical me, pre journey. I'm a kid, right? And kids, as a kid, I like to play around with electronics. The typical crystal radio kit had like a manufactured silicone diode, which was part of the crystal radio kit. And you're hooking up all these electronic components, and then, oh, guess what? It's a radio. Big deal. I mean, it was really cool.
Oh no, really cool. Yeah.
But you're actually listening to a radio without any power. The power of the radio waves themselves are what power the earphone. I got a hold of an antique crystal radio kit, and they don't have a manufactured diode in there. They actually had a chunk of germanium, an actual physical germanium crystal in a little metal cup. And you had a little piece of like a needle you would put on it and you'd wiggle it around until all of a sudden you would start hearing radio broadcasts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what that did for me is like I realized that wait a minute. Behind this manufactured electronic component, what's really inside of there is a real, actual, true crystal. And that crystal was able to do what crystals do, for me as a science kid listening to a crystal radio. Holy cow. Now looking back on that, realizing that I'm listening to energy coming through a wire, through a piece of crystal and into my earphone. That's, I'm getting a broadcast. Why not realize that crystals are doing that all the time?
Yeah, right.
Right. That was a kind of an aha moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's really fascinating. So I just had, of course, naturally, I had to pop over and look. Germanium diodes, or sometimes Schottky diodes, I'm sure Schottky is a person,
Yep.
are
It's an
used
inventor.
instead of silicone because their lower forward voltage drop, roughly 0.3 volts compared to 0.6, makes them more sensitive. So germanium actually is more sensitive than those silicone diodes.
Right. So when I was playing around with this antique crystal radio kit, seeing the physical crystal in that little metal cup made me go, wow, that's like a real piece of crystal. Holy cow.
Ah, see, yeah, I mean, and there's galena radio. You can use a galena crystal as a radio. Galena is actually another one of those metals like pyrite, pyrite, galena. They look kind of similar. I have a big chunk of that someplace too. I don't think it lives here. I think it lives at my space.
Hey, I got a question. What
Sure.
does what does obsidian do in the crystal world?
Black obsidian,
Yeah.
because there's all kinds of obsidian.
Okay.
And obsidian tends to be glass. I think if I'm not mistaken, all obsidian is glass.
I believe
If I
so.
I believe it's all obsidian.
I
I
think
will say, and this is interesting, um, in the crystal healing world, black obsidian is about release.
oh, okay.
And most crystal healers say black obsidian means business.
Hmm.
Which I find to be interesting. And I was, found a little questionable. And then one day I was at the crystal shop
Yep.
and I reached my hand into a bowl of black obsidian and grabbed out a handful to pick one from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, all right, then let me put all those back and let me just take a look. So, like I said,
Right.
yeah, it was very, very, like that was a lot. So, yeah, right. Moldavite too. So obsidian, black obsidian is meant for release, and it's
Okay.
good for release of grief. The
Mm.
darker crystals, right? Like black obsidian, Apache tear is another one. They are really good for things that are traumatic to the
Okay.
physical nature,
All right.
right?
And helping
So
to release
grief,
those and
release,
getting
right,
over
to
them.
release those things.
Sweet.
So I have a really cool, and it's also not here, blue obsidian pyramid.
Cool.
And looks like blue glass. Obsidian is glass, but here's the thing about glass. Glass is made from what? Sand.
Sand.
What is sand? But millions of tiny little crystals,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So they melt it and just reform it, and so it's really a beautifully powerful piece. So there's another kind of category in my mind of crystals: apophyllite, moldavite, phenacite. A lot of them are ites. They have ite on
Sure.
the end.
Yep.
And moldavite is said to be meteoric, I think, from a meteor.
Okay.
I will say that it's very, very also vibrational. And I remember there was a lady in a meditation class that I was in, and she's like, "Oh my God, I have had this headache for a week and I can't get rid of it." And I'm like looking at her because she was crazy for crystals, right? So like she probably has a collection that rivals mine, and she might even have more than I do. So that, and
Possible.
that's yeah. I mean, mine requires an insurance rider, so
Oh wow, that's cool.
yeah.
All right, all right.
um, so
That's going to go on a quote board somewhere.
yeah, right. So anyway, so I was looking at her and I was like, "But that necklace you're wearing, what is it?" Moldavite. I was like,
Mhm.
"What fool told you to put a moldavite crystal on a necklace around your neck?" I said, "You need to take that off. You need now." And I'm not, like, I'm not fear conscious. I don't participate in
No,
that.
no.
I said, "But you need to take that moldavite crystal off from around your neck, and your headache is going to go away." And sure enough, she let me know like 2 days later, yes, my headache finally went away. I said, because it's just too vibrational. It's too much. Like,
Wow.
so there are things that are too much, that
Yep.
are like, like when you sit with a piece of moldavite, although I did have a friend who called it grounding. I don't know what the heck he was thinking. I wonder if he listens. If you're listening, you know who you are, and I'll find you in your little chair sometime, and you'll be grounded with your moldavite. Anyway, it there are ones, apophyllite, phenacite, that are. I mean, like phenacite. When you buy a phenacite, a piece of phenacite, it's like this big,
Hmm.
like, and it's so vibrational. You take those things and you meditate with them. There's no limit to the places you can go.
Cool.
So and for me, that's what I'm all about, right?
Right.
Imagination and
Yep.
visualization, and
Yep.
follow
And
the
those
otter,
journeys.
and
Yeah.
do those kind of journeys. So if you want something to amplify those things, these are the kind of crystals that can really,
Interesting.
really make a difference.
I got a question for you. What is the relationship between, say, gemstones that we find in traditional jewelry and the, vibrational or, yeah, the vibrational crystals that we typically find in crystal shops?
So honestly, to me, they're the same.
Okay.
But remember how I said iolite, right?
Hmm.
And the ones you find in the crystal shop, they're lower quality in the crystal. They're not lower quality. That's not the right word, right? That's not the right way to put it. They're I don't know. I can't think of another word.
Yeah, it's like
Because
a
this is
purer
called,
specimen, right?
right. That they call this gemmy, right? That
Ah,
that that's the term they give it. Something that's clear like this is gemmy. This actually would be broken up and cut to be put into jewelry.
hmm,
It won't ever, not
right.
this piece. Maybe when I'm gone and my kids sell it or something. I don't know, but they would actually, take a chunk of this and cut it and facet it and put it into jewelry. So that was actually when I was, um, I don't know, in my 30s, I guess. I worked for Service Merchandise, which is long gone, in the jewelry department. And everybody was all over the diamonds. Me, I was all over the colored stones, tanzanite and paparacha sapphire, and, all these different colored stones, which they call them semi-precious,
Yeah, that's it.
right?
Right, right.
In
Like
the
rubies.
jewelry stores,
Yep.
right? That they're called semi-precious because they're not diamonds.
Okay.
That, to me, that is a marketing thing,
Mm,
right? Like diamonds are kind of like the hallmark holiday, right,
yeah.
of the
Right.
gemstone world,
Right.
right?
Well.
Because rubies are, to me, actually, some rubies can be very expensive. If you find a for real Burmese ruby, that is going to be way more expensive, or at least as expensive as a diamond. So,
No kidding. I didn't know that.
um, yeah. So some of it is man getting involved,
Hmm.
and what better way? How much money are they going to make from this? And this was, it was pricey. It was
Mm,
about $400. So it wasn't, millions or anything. But okay, great, 400 bucks. Or they bust it up into little faceted stones and sell those little faceted stones for, 200 a piece or
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah, of course.
You
Yep.
know? So there is that. So the minute you start getting man involved, like, for example, lapis lazuli, I'm sure you've heard of it.
Oh, absolutely. Bright blue,
I
right?
don't have any of it
Huh.
because I can't get any. Well, I know where to get some, but I've never run across. You never know the source, and because the lapis mines are ruled by the Taliban, you're putting money
Oh,
directly into the Taliban's pocket
yeah.
in a lot of
Right.
occasions.
Yep. It's the
Now,
same concept as blood diamonds, right?
exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right. So there is a shop local here. It's a little bit of a ride, and I don't tend to go there again because my wallet says stay away.
Not this
But
week.
all the lapis he has in his store is over 20 years old, and it's the only lapis he will sell. When it's gone, he said
Oh,
it's
interesting.
gone because he doesn't want to participate in
Yeah.
in that sort of thing. So
Yep.
a lot of people think are they just a rock? Is a rock just a rock? Maybe not,
It's a
right?
rock that's got something energetic and buzzy about it.
I mean, and I've had them, I don't know. They say that crystals can phase in and out, right? And I've actually had it happen. So, like I knew it was right there, and then I went for it and it wasn't there, and then 2 days later it was back again. Like, or
Cool.
they show up in odd places, like
Hmm.
where you would never have put them.
Right.
Kind of like pennies, how pennies
Yep.
or coins do.
Yes. Absolutely.
Kind of like that. So
Just saying.
right? And I mean, and man, we could talk about so much more, but already the time is like over.
We are at the end.
It's just crazy. Like
Right.
crystals are
Right.
just,
It feels like we just got started on this topic.
right? So just in closing on crystals, and then we're going to move directly into tarot time. Um, you know, go to a shop. You don't have to buy, right? Go to a shop, look around, go to a place
Browse.
where you can put your hands in the little dishes, and you can pick up a crystal and see what it feels like. Go to a shop where you can look around. Go to a shop even if they have the bigger pieces in cases. See what they say to you, see what they speak to you. I'm telling you, some of them call me back. Like some of them just don't shut up, honestly. But just try.
Yeah.
Get yourself a chakra set.
Yep.
Red, orange, green, yellow, blue, indigo, and violet. Buy a made up set if you don't feel uncomfortable, but you'll get more if you pick them out yourself. And just play, right? Just
Yeah.
try. Sit with them in your hands. Sit with one in your hand and one between your feet and breathe and see how the energy starts to circulate.
Okay.
Or this is the last thing I'll say. And this is not actually a quartz point, but you can get the idea. You take a quartz point and put it one in one hand facing your fingers, towards your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put in the second hand another quartz point facing your wrist. And then just sit with your hands and just focus on your two hands and breathe. And after a few minutes, you will start to feel the energy
Circulating.
from the crystal. And then after you feel that, switch them and you'll feel the energy go in the other direction.
Wow.
So that is something for you to try.
Okay.
And then if you try it, 2 quartz points, that's all you need. Couple of bucks, you can get them in the crystal store. It doesn't have to be fancy ones. Honestly, you can get a pound of quartz points off Amazon for about $15 or $16 usually, depending on, of course,
Sure.
now there'll be more because I said what I said, but not a lot. You can get them on Amazon. Try it and just see, how much you love it.
Nice.
Anyway, so thanks for, talking about this one. I think we could do this again.
This is
and
totally your section of expertise, and I've been just thrilled to listen to, the everything I've learned today. I learned quite a bit.
Excellent. And me and my little fairy tower say thank you very much. Say good night to the green calcite.
Right. And
And
my quote without
now,
googly eyes says,
there you go. Now it is tarot time.
all right. So today's card is the Hierophant. All right. What on earth is a Hierophant? So a little quick history about this card. In the older deck, this used to be the Pope card. And as I think it was when Raider White came out in the 40s, they decided to change that to the Hierophant. Now, what is a Hierophant? The Hierophant card stands for tradition, spiritual awakening, and enlightenment. It's another kind of thing that surrounds this card is get out of old, stuck, empty paradigms, empty religious paradigms, and start nurturing your spirit. It's get out of the stodgy, dare I say, dried up religion and focus on your soul and your spirit. So when this card shows up in a reading, it's an indication that you need to potentially take on a more rigorous or a more formalized spiritual practice. So it could mean, hey, buddy, you know all this stuff. Time to actually start spending time meditating, right?
Wow.
Right. So it's a reminder that your spirit, it's a reminder to keep going on your spiritual path. One other person that I follow in tarot said, the Hierophant is the go-between between God and humans, and he's the one who shows us the sacred way. He has learned all he can about the spiritual life, and he is now passing that information on to you. Take it and own it and move along with it.
Do you have any idea who the Hierophant is in a Radley Valentine deck?
I don't.
Do you know the number of the card?
Yes, it's card number 5.
Well, if it's card number 5, then I can find out.
Okay.
I'm interested in.
Yes, actually, we should do that real quick. While I'm thinking about it, actually, I'm going to pull up Radley Valentine's deck here. No, because it'll take me too long. They're not in order. Let me do the mantra because, as you know, I like Chris Ann's deck, the Lightseers Tarot. And the mantra for this card is, I am my own guru, and the guidance I need is rooted in my faith, my belief, and my unique essence. So again, it's all about embodying. You don't need to look to a religious text. You are, the spiritual guidance you have is in here.
Well, I'm all over that.
Yeah, right. And,
I'm all about that. So
yeah, I like this card a lot. Before, when I was studying it from a traditional Rider-Waite deck, it was like, this is the traditional religion deck card, and it's morphed into much more of a embody a religious practice, a spiritual practice in your life, kind of a message.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's really interesting to watch and see how I can start to see how these different cards coming up in different places could tell a really important and powerful story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's time for people to start embracing it for what it is. It's not that thing you need to be afraid of. I don't want to have a reading because what if it tells me something bad?
Yeah. Yep.
And we've talked about the heads up and everything, but if you look at it instead of more a predictor of the future, and look at it more as a tool that you can use to help you navigate this
it's
physical
almost like
life.
An educational tool.
Yeah, I mean, totally.
Yep.
So, well, folks, here we are at the end. one of these days, maybe we'll get to 2 cards, but it could very well take us a couple of years to get through the whole tarot deck. It's all good.
Just means you have to keep listening till we're through it.
Or maybe we'll do an actual episode where we knock out about, 6 or 8 of them.
Sure.
But you'll have to choose those instead of drawing
Right.
those into.
Yep. No, I agree
So
with
it's
that.
something that'll tell a story that I think people will enjoy that.
Yep.
All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. This is another amazing episode in the can, so to speak. John, thank you so much. As always,
Thanks, Angie.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, this is great.
And we will see you next week when our topic is...
It's words, mantras, sutras, and chants.
There you go. It left me for a moment. I'm excited for that one too. The power of words is going to be amazing.
Words is going to be awesome.
So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe and share us with your friends if you don't mind. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Does It Resonate With You? The thought-provoking conversation show with your hosts, Angie of the ZXUH Method and John the Tarot Geek. Please help us out by clicking the subscribe button here on the YouTube channel. We appreciate your support.